So, what happened in Oregon? Let's talk about it. The Kelseys settled in Oregon, reunited with their family, and thrived with new work and more children through 1843 and 1844. They embarked on a journey of a lifetime, settling in Oregon and creating a prosperous life out of nothing. It's like turning a blank canvas into a masterpiece or planting a seed in barren soil and watching it grow into a mighty oak tree. By 1844, hundreds of families followed in their footsteps, turning the once deserted Oregon into a flourishing settlement, like an ant colony expanding in an untouched land. However, this growth wasn't without its complications. Picture two kids fighting over a toy, each claiming it theirs. That's how the U.S. and Britain felt about Oregon. They jointly occupied it from the 1820s, but by 1844, the ownership issue was moving both countries towards war. The Kelseys, sensing the brewing storm, decided to move back to California. They settled in the picturesque Napa Valley, building the first house of sawn wood in that region. Watching Nancy Kelsey turn a piece of land into a beautiful home, complete with a garden and chickens, was like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes. This story reminds us of the relentless human spirit and how we can turn challenges into opportunities. Just like the Kelseys, we can create our own path, make the best of any situation, and build a prosperous life. But what happened after that? Was there a flood of immigrants? Imagine, it's late 1845. The tension is thick in the air like a dense fog. U.S. settlers are pouring into California, and it's as if an invisible fuse is being lit between the U.S. and Mexico. And remember, this is before gold was discovered, okay? Enter John Charles Fremont, who rides into Sutter's Fort with his legendary scout, Kit Carson. They're not a big crew, just around a dozen men, but they carry a big message. Think of Fremont as the guy at the party who just can't stop talking about his grand adventures. He's there to map California, but he can't help but share the news that the U.S. might be on the brink of war with Mexico. Imagine the buzz in the room, like a hive of bees just got kicked. Fremont is like a kid in a candy store demanding supplies like mules, flour, coffee, you name it. But alas, he's told there's nothing left. It's like going to the store for a restock only to find empty shelves. A real buzzkill, right? Next, Fremont heads to Monterey, hoping for better luck. He gets a reality check from the American consul, Thomas Larkin. At that moment, the U.S. and Mexico are at peace. Picture someone pouring cold water on your hot gossip. Claiming California, though, was in the works. As the weeks progressed, Ben Kelsey and a number of their American brethren were eager to declare California as theirs, so they went to Sonoma, where the men gathered to stage the Bear Flag Revolt, claiming California for the United States. She, Nancy, was standing there watching the men and listening to Bob Semple rant about the wonders of republicanism when Peter Storm came up to her. Peter was an old salt, a Norwegian sailor who had gotten sick of the sea, jumped ship in San Francisco Bay, and wandered up to Sonoma and Napa long before even the Vallejos arrived. He was tattooed all over like an island warrior, but Nancy knew he was a gentle, good-natured man who liked to paint pictures and play the flute. The painting was what brought him to her now. Shyly, he told her that the men needed a flag. Did she have any cloth he could paint a flag on? The idea stirred her. She told him to wait and went indoors and turned up her skirts and ripped out some pieces of her petticoats, 2 patches of white and 2 of red. With her needle and thread, she sewed them together into a square, the white on top and the red beneath. Peter thanked her, delighted, and stretched the cloth across a rock. On the white, he painted a standing grizzly bear, threatening with its paws, and a single star. When he was done, he put it carefully down to dry, and they both went back to listening to Bob Semple. Around midnight, Zeke Merritt gathered his force. He had more than 30 men, each with a rifle and a horse. They were bringing some dogs with them to chase off bears and painters, which were actually cougars, but they called them painters, not to be mistaken with the guy that just painted the flag. Anyway, while the men were holding a brief conference to discuss possible routes, Nancy climbed onto her horse. Somebody held the new baby, Andrew, up to her. She sat him in front of her on the saddle, his back against her, and wrapped her arm around him. And when her husband started off down the Napa Valley, she followed right behind. And by the way, it was Nancy and Peter's original flag that was flown the moment the Bear Flag Republic members overtook Vallejo's compound in Sonoma, California on June 14th, 1846. Yep, pretty fascinating, huh? So we've got pioneers seen as invaders and Americans who are really eager to go to war with Mexico. There you have it. All right, see you in the next video.